Hello, everyone. Welcome to another commentary podcast. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm the Real Manos.
And we are hip deep in the middle, or really toward the end, of Powerpuff Month. And Manos and I are finally going to do a commentary on the Powerpuff Girls movie. One of, weirdly, Manos, my favorite superhero movies, and one that I think is kind of underappreciated.
I would agree to that, yes. I enjoy it quite a bit, and it fits really well into the series.
Well, and we'll talk about that, because the origin thing is something that, before the movie came out, I remember kind of being really trepidatious about and not sure if that was a good idea. And honestly, I don't know how well... I think it works better within the series than I ever would have expected it to, but I like it, I think, much more as a standalone piece than I like it as a part of that greater whole. I think, fundamentally, doing a Powerpuff Girl origin is not a great idea, given that some of the charm of the show was that you get it in like 5 seconds in the intro, but it's a testament to the movie that I love it so much despite that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really take much. You know, he pours weird junk into a bucket and makes 3 girls that have superpowers.
Accidentally gives them superpowers.
That totally makes sense.
There you go. yeah, sure. That's all you need. But anyway, so it's a thing that, like I said, I don't hear talked about a lot, and it didn't do real well at the box office. But I think is a movie that surprisingly has a lot of heart and a lot of charm and some pretty great social satire.
As usual, yeah, that was part of the charm of the whole show, actually. It retains everything that made the show good. So, you know, that's all you can ask for a film version of a current running series.
So we'll go ahead and get into it. Everybody, if you want to watch the movie with us, go ahead and get out your DVD. I don't think this was ever released on Blu-ray. Maybe it was. But get it past the menus, get it to timestamp 0, and get ready to press play whenever I say now. If you want to listen to it as a podcast, you can do that as well, and Manos and I will do our level best to provide some context for what we're talking about as we discuss and watch the movie. Manos, are you ready to get started?
I am all set.
All right, here we go. Everybody, please press play right now.
Okay, I've done it.
Well done, Manos.
I hope this is on Blu-ray. It would be a huge insult if it wasn't.
Was this movie not even released in widescreen?
I don't know.
Are you looking at it in full screen like I am? Oh, okay. Maybe it's just the Warner Brothers logo that was that way. That's really weird.
We'll see in just a second.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest, this film seems to have gotten low priority over the years. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, mine's in full screen. No, that's really weird.
Yeah, mine's in full screen too.
Yeah, and you know what's strange about that? It got it was because it was early enough in the 2000s that it might have done the widescreen and the full screen thing, and you had to look at the box. But like, I'm looking at my box and it doesn't show it doesn't show it at the top like it did on a lot of those. But I'm surprised by how many special features it has, given this treatment. Because usually when this would happen, it would be like really gutted and there'd be nothing in it, like maybe a commentary, and that'd be about it.
Yeah, I love the special features on this. When I rented it for the first time when it came out, I was pleasantly surprised how much. I gotta say, I love this opening, the slow crawl through the city and showing sort of the movie version of the city.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a distinct difference. I mean, you can tell that they've really, upped their apparatus and done their best to give this a cinematic treatment, which is why it sucks to watch it in full screen.
Yeah, I hope this is on. I would assume this is on
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, the stuff that's on Blu-ray is shockingly horrible. Like, the Blood Waters of Dr. Z has a Blu-ray release. The Incredible Melting Man is on Blu-ray.
But there are quite a few things that really ought to be that aren't. Something we were talking about the other day, I can't remember what, that isn't, but ought to be. So we're immediately taking this from TV show and comic book superhero parody to movie superhero parody, and I think this is one of the things to put in the plus column of trying to do it in origin story for the Powerpuff Girls, which is we're making fun of the of the trend of everything's gotta be dark and gritty and awful, and then the superheroes come in and they fix all of that and they brighten the world up.
Yeah, I absolutely love that sequence of him at the supermarket where it's getting robbed by Fuzzy.
And I
And
think that's the reason that a lot of people look back on this as being, and I remember this being a criticism at the time, of being surprisingly relentlessly, gritty and kind of sad looking, and that's done with purpose.
mhm.
And I think it's juxtaposed pretty well with the Powerpuff Girls being as fun and bubbly and cute as they always have been.
And plus, yeah, it doesn't stay that way. I mean, this is not a David Fincher film.
Yeah, but I think he would like this movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Because it is playing with that with that grim tone.
Yeah. What do you think about attaching Mojo to the origin in the way this film did?
Well, it was building off of something that was already in the continuity. Yeah. By the way, just talking about what we're looking at here with the professor staring at them in abject surprise and possibly terror. Because when you first see the big giant bug eyes, that's a little creepy until they start talking. But one of the, and I've said this in other episode commentaries. One of my favorite things about the Powerpuff Girls is the comedy mileage they get out of wasting time.
Yeah.
And they immediately jump us into this with that moment of, let's sit here for a long time and have this awkward silence. And I don't like awkward silence in most comedies. In Powerpuff Girls, it almost always lands for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Awkward silence, I think, can be done really well. Of course, I just love this whole sequence of them chatting and talking.
And Buttercup, because it also begins with a B.
B. That's all I had.
Well, and the reason I love that line, and you're going to hear me possibly read far too deeply into this movie, but the reason I like that line so much is because Buttercup doesn't exactly go with her personality the way the other two names do, because, they're all three these cute little girls that have to have, silly cute names to go with them, and Buttercup is the rough and tumble hardcore one, and her name is Buttercup!
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your earlier question, if memory serves, and I might be wrong about this, but I don't think I am, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive that the episode that established Mojo Jojo as starting off as the professor's lab monkey had already aired.
Okay.
And so, this just kind of fills in the blanks of that, but, the idea of, the idea of Mojo, working with the Powerpuff Girls and being a giant part of their origin, and accidentally, and putting them on this path where they're gullible and trust him and accidentally make the whole town hate them. At first I thought was maybe going a little bit too far, and a thing that you'd think would come up. The only criticism I can really throw at that, looking at this as part of the series and not just its own piece, is it's weird that never comes up, and he is so much less threatening much of the time in the show than he is in his origin.
I would agree to that, especially raising that army of super intelligent apes.
Yeah, and there's this kind of pathos.
Almost like Rise of the Planet of the Apes, actually, it almost reminds me of.
Well, and he references that at the end.
Yeah.
Or in that, at the beginning of that third act.
Mm-hmm.
We have origins for a lot of different little things in this movie, and I usually kind of resist that, and here it works for whatever reason, for me anyway. I think it's somewhat of a taste issue, but you'd think it would seem really dumb to be like, and we have to have an origin for why the windows, but then, there are three of them, and I kind of dig it.
Yeah, and it doesn't make too much of a big deal about these points. It's just showing us how the machine was built.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That it's not a stand-in for story.
Oh no, not at all.
Because you compare this to something like Underdog, and Underdog is nothing but that. It's like it's just like really stock characters and a really formulaic plot, and nobody seemed to have any fun making that movie except for Patrick Warburton. And then most of it is just origins for all the little things about Underdog that you never would have cared to see an origin for. I don't care why he rhymes.
Yeah, and this the bit with the windows is kind of a joke in the film. the dangerous use of their powers.
Oh, I guess he's
at the
already
same
called the
time setting
contractor
up.
because now they have actual windows in them.
Yeah,
Now they have actual glass. That's good.
yeah. Uh,
Sorry.
but yeah, as opposed to things like like X-Men Origins Wolverine. Like, oh, thank God he got that jacket. Like now I know how he got it. Uh, and, it's not a joke. He just puts it on and they make a big deal out of him having it. It's like, I don't care. I assume he just bought it at a store.
Especially because then later he leaves it somewhere and doesn't have it. So then you have to assume that he had to go back and get it at some point. I always like the architecture of this house.
I love the architecture. I love the '60s, the early '60s.
It's Art Deco, isn't it?
Yeah, that kind of style. I love that era, that sort of Madman era. That's just a beautiful architecture style.
Yeah, and like not even silly. Like I would live in that house.
Oh, good, you're good. Yeah, and he has a Studebaker Avante, which I always thought was a cool car.
You know the name of the car.
Yeah.
Manos, I would give just about anything for ceilings that high.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, yeah. You have to with babies that fly everywhere.
But that's a really good point. Yeah. I mean, like, well, and of course, when we get big action scenes where they're flying around their house in this and in some of the episodes, all of a sudden the house is a lot bigger.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
naturally.
That's kind of typical TV cartoon. Whereas suddenly, like, Fred Flintstone can just run and run and run and run in that, the small house of theirs.
You gotta wonder how many patents the professor has, because, like, he lives so, like, posh and upscale.
Yeah, he must be doing pretty well, despite all the lawsuits that I'm sure that get caused over the years.
Well, they probably get smoothed over a lot because his little girls go save the town all the time. So, like, every time he causes some big horrible catastrophe, they save the town from a monster again.
I guess it's a trade-off. Like, well, you've saved us last week, even though you blew up the town this week.
The Powerpuff Girls have the best lawyer.
Oh, I know. Well, they did a funny joke in one episode where they had Parents' Day, where one of the kids' parents comes in and he talks about how rich he is because he owns the insurance company in the town.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's some of the fun of the show is that it's such often a really like stupid thing, and like on purpose, right? And then. And then you'll get those really smart moments where of almost realism. I mean, I can't come up with a better word, but at least in the context of this show, where you're like, oh yeah, an insurance adjuster would make a lot of money in that job.
Well, that's one of the things I love, and that does it. And I've seen a few shows do that from time to time, like go to cartoonish, ridiculous lengths, and then bring us back with something realistic.
Well, we've got
several shows do that.
We've got these believable little moments with like how children actually behave and how they talk and stuff. Like I like that Bubbles thinks the word is affected instead of infected and things like that, especially because she was just literally born yesterday.
Yeah, she was, and I love how well they talk and understand. I love how it's interesting in this film, and especially in the first half, watching them kind of figure out the world.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally are born yesterday. I don't know if you watch Adventure Time, but they did an episode where Princess Bubblegum created this little creature, and the little creature's having this chat with Finn, and she asks him what's the meaning of bad, and he explains it. And she says, "Oh, it's like the opposite of good." And Finn says, "Yeah, that's true." And I find it weird that you know what the word opposite means, but not bad.
That's hilarious. I mean, obviously, you can't have too many arguments about the logic of a thing like this. It is, as I always say, straddling that line between cartoon and real storytelling. And this, of course, just like Dexter's Laboratory and a lot of those other Cartoon Network shows, is always just slightly to the left of that line, or a lot even farther to the left of that line, where it'll actually be about stuff, but it is a cartoon before it's a story. The movie, happily and surprisingly, because it's a feature-length thing, is actually more in the center of those things. As much as you can expect in this thing, but like if I had to chalk it up to anything, I love the professor like sneaking off. If I had to chalk it up to anything, it would be the definition of what the professor is creating when he creates the Powerpuff Girls. The perfect little girls would be able to talk.
Yes.
And so they do.
Instantly. Now let's begin Zack Snyder's Tag.
I'll tell you, this is one of those action scenes that goes on forever and should get boring and doesn't.
No, because it's absolutely hilarious. And, there's... man, I just enjoy, like, how far they go with this. It just gets larger and larger as it increases.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not so I'm about to say this is progressing story, and it's not doing that with a lot of like really deep character stuff or anything, but the idea is that it's it gotta giantly exaggerate or just display how massive. How massively scary the Powerpuff Girls' powers could be. So we're getting this primarily from their perspective, and so it looks like a lot of fun from them, and then at the end we back off, and it's mortifying because they've destroyed the city, and then they'll destroy it every single week on a Saturday morning. And because they do it in the name of good and protecting people, it becomes okay after that, like it is in so many superhero stories, except that the townspeople actually acknowledge it.
Yeah, you know what? That's the good thing about satire and humor, and just the light touch they do. I've never really seen destruction in a superhero film done in this manner. I mean, it's such an entertaining sequence.
Well, you need this show before you can, or something like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie is all about collateral damage as being superheroes, and it's such a creative way to tackle the theme of responsibility that you have in nearly every superhero thing, because they're not learning it primarily through like being a that look on Bubble's face when she shoots up and creates the crater.
Oh, I know. I love that.
And then the ball. I'm pretty sure this sequence, by the way, was storyboarded by Genny Tartakovsky.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's got a lot of his signatures.
Nice use of CG, by the way.
Yes.
It's apparent compared to some of the episodes, especially early episodes, that this is a good mix of CG and cell.
Manos, I never noticed that. Did you notice that there's a store that they fly past that is a toy store that only sells balls?
Oh no, I did see that actually.
That's fantastic. But what I was gonna say is, I've got a nice car. What I was gonna say is usually we do this responsibility thing, like in the Spider-Man tradition, where it's about a character who is afraid to put their own life on the line, or trying to figure out how to blend being a superhero with having a personal life, and the responsibility thing comes from there. And here we're remembering that they're kindergartners and that they just want to play.
Yeah. And I think
so it comes from that place. And the big lesson they learn at the end is, sometimes you have to punch people.
Yeah. And I think Buttercup just killed like 87,000 people.
And this is a context where you can get away with not bringing that up or talking about it. Because again, it is a cartoon, and nobody ever dies in a cartoon.
Well, look how empty those streets are.
Yeah, there's nobody there. Of course, there's a reason for that. It's easier to animate.
Yeah, well, yes. It's like beware the Batman streets.
This bit here was used in the advertising for Powerpuff Girls Forevermore. While the show was still on, with the girls streaking through the sky like that and panning back. That was in commercials a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's so many great bits you can pull out of that sequence. I know I've seen the shot of Blossom running down the street a few times, and this is a good intro of the mayor and Miss Bellum, by the way.
Yeah, I think, and I showed this to a couple people that had never watched Powerpuff Girls, and they loved it, and right after it came out, and they loved it and had no problem with it. And I think this is a really good example of a prequel thing that doesn't watch too much like a prequel,
Yeah, I think they do a good job with that. Actually, it feels like its own thing. Like you could start here.
You could start here, yeah. And so many prequels you can't. They require you to have knowledge of the thing, even though it takes place in the past. Where again, it's primarily there to show you how the thing you know already is. It came together. Sort of just things you wouldn't appreciate. For instance, the mayor's pickle fetish is funny whether you start here or not. Like, just the fact that he's so obsessed with pickles and that's so random is really funny.
Yes.
If you like that kind of random humor like I do. And again, this is not for everybody, but that's my brand of humor and was well before Powerpuff Girls. So that kind of thing lands for me. But like there are things like the windows and stuff that are for us fans and where we're going, oh, okay, cool. That's a nod to things we know about already. But you don't feel isolated and left out. I wouldn't think, although I don't know because I knew the show. But it doesn't seem like a thing where you would feel like you were left out of an elite group if you didn't know the show. Having said all of that, I mean, probably the 2 or 3 people I showed it to were the only people that ever watched it that hadn't already seen the show, given that it made no money at the box office.
Oh man, when I went to see, God, I love this pull away. By the way, you just see the horrifying destruction.
You can tell the kind of work that went into this animation. And
then
this is one of those shows that was
the top of the building falls.
This is one of those shows that was criticized, like a lot of Cartoon Network shows, for having really lazy animation. And when you hear the guys talk about the work that goes into storyboarding this and stuff, it's kind of all style.
Yeah. Hey, original Powerpuff Girls, that was a storyboarded show, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because they're still doing that with all their shows on Cartoon Network.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. I guess we live in a day and age where you wouldn't have to do it that way.
Yeah, you do. You don't have to.
I was like, well, yeah, man. How else do you do it? Oh, yeah, it's 2016. I guess we can digitalify all of that.
We can, and a lot of shows do, but a lot of the, it seems like Cartoon Network has been specializing ever since the original cartoon days, and creator shows that have like a real artistic aspect to them. That started with Dexter's Laboratory and with Powerpuff Girls and all sorts of shows. And that started over again. And then
I will criticize that network now for having too much of a house style all the way across. But I mean, there was a degree of that back in the day. You're right. They are all creator owned or creator created.
Not creator owned.
That sounds dumb and different in the way that they're made. But I don't know. I do think they all look a little bit too close now.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I would disagree with that actually. Like if you put like Adventure Time up against Gumball, Amazing World of Gumball, that show. Amazing World of Gumball doesn't look like anything I've seen.
Well, and I haven't watched as many of them as you have.
That's true. I am pretty much of a big cartoon.
And I'm partly saying that just because the new Powerpuff Girls show looks to me to be too much like some of the other things I've seen at that network instead of going its own way as much as this show did.
I don't know about that. It has the fact. See, this is the difference here is. This show is a reboot. It's a franchise show. It's not the original creator doing it.
Right. Yeah.
Versus the original creator of like Adventure Time is, minding that show. Rebecca Sugar created Steven Universe, so that show has her all over it.
That is, by the way, my single favorite headline of anything in any movie ever.
Oh, I missed that.
Freaky weirdo bug-eyed girls broke everything.
And now day 2.
Day 2 of our lives.
Yep.
And all of a sudden we've created a nightmare world for us.
I have to say I love Miss Keene, by the way.
I do too.
She reminds me. She's always visually reminded me of Cindy Williams from Laverne and Shirley. She looks like her and seems like a character she would have played. God, I love these construction guys.
So this goes without saying, and you can do these kinds of silly, exaggerated things because it's a cartoon, but
Yeah.
they wouldn't be having school in this movie.
Yeah, they would have closed for the day.
I just want to, at least, I just want to throw that out there. But you see, we have to make things really hard for them and make all their school kid friends hate them. Yeah, God darn, broke my board. They used to. There was a lot of poking fun of stereotypes in the show, of course.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it always did that.
Which they did completely unabashedly.
It's nice to see the mayor also had people working with him.
Oh yeah, that's a good. That's
Just
a
him
good
and
point.
Bellum.
Yeah, see, that's how it used to work, and then it became 60s Batman, where they created a culture of dependency on the superhero, and then he doesn't need to work with anyone because he just calls up the superheroes all the time. Like, you never see cops in that show. Well, you do, but not real often.
They would show cops.
Yeah, I know.
They would need the cops.
They never did anything.
Oh, man, this thing always bummed me out.
And they always
arrested, and
yeah,
they got forgotten about.
The cops always hang out at the donut thing.
Mm-hmm. Cops eating donuts? I don't know if I've heard that stereotype before.
I just like the name of that shop, though, the donut thing.
Yeah.
And then this is also very much a little kid thing where
oh yeah, it's the general kid nightmare.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, being left by your parents, but also when things are going wrong, and whether you're at fault or not. And of course, in this case, they are, but they're innocent in the sense that they weren't taught any better. There's certainly some commentary in this, and I talked about this when I did the rewind about bad parenting. And as much as you like the professor in this, in the way he tries to bring up his little girls, he's a new father and doesn't know what he's doing, and so they're able to kind of have their cake and eat it too on that, where he is likable and sympathetic again in this context, but he's also not a very good parent, and he doesn't he doesn't really know how to bring up little girls. But a lot of kids will do this where they'll decide their parents hate them.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a general fear and of most kids that their parents hate them or won't come back for them or give them away. It's terrible. But in this case, yeah, that's a legitimate fear, and they're only like what 2-3 days old when they get this feeling.
Got to point out the Van Halen van.
Yeah. Rock on the store.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. They are little freaks, aren't they? That's about as funny as the thing in Dr. Horrible where the news anchor goes, "It's a good day to be homeless."
Oh my God, that's the Muppet Newsflash logo.
Oh, it is! That's a good point. Yeah, there are references to everything in this. This is a potpourri canister of late 20th century references.
Well, the guys who grew up, creating this show, they grew up watching like 60s Batman and Muppets in the 70s, and
And the thing that most people point out is all the music references.
Yeah.
There's a lot of album covers and the thing with Mojo and the Trash Lid. That
of course, yeah, and then of course the Beatles episode.
Yeah, but I mean this movie specifically, a lot of music references.
Oh yeah. And it's interesting to see their personalities develop. It's interesting that they actually kind of worked at kind of developing the personalities in this too.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of born ready-made, and they all have one character arc throughout the film, but you're right that they are kind of coming into their own. I've always said that the Powerpuff Girls are each a different aspect of one personality, and when you put them together, they're one person.
Yeah. I love how threatening the Gangrene boys were in this one. Like, they seem menacing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a first time for everything.
Yeah, and they never seem menacing in the show, but they really do seem dangerous in this one.
Well, and I think that part of the idea is once the Powerpuff Girls are established and are the superheroes of this town and kind of of this universe, everything gets lighter, like no matter what it is.
Yeah, and also after a while, once they take these guys down, these other villains down, they become far less scary. But brand new seeing them, they would be terrified by them.
Because in creating in Origin, it's like the bad guys are running rampant because there's no superheroes and we have kind of incompetent law enforcement that needs like 18 guys to take somebody's dad to prison. And then yeah, really incompetent mayor and all that stuff. So we're still actually having some social commentary with the mayor and not just putting that in there because that's always been there. It's still about apathetic law enforcement and incompetency and just look at me, I'm important, I sit behind a desk, and you're not actually doing anything. But once we, and I think that's one of the things that kind of put people off is that we've got this really cynical looking world at the beginning of this, on purpose, and then once you get to, you get past this and you get to, the series proper, at least chronologically, the idea seems to me that it's like now everybody just has a role. So the bad guys are bad because the superhero world needs bad guys. And some of them have actual motivations, and some of them are just silly bad guys because you got to have that. And so we're making fun of those superhero tropes where they're like, even inside of the world they're in, they call them villains. We don't do that in the real world. You know why? Because it's a literary term, and we're not being written by someone.
That's true. I mean, no one ever like that would be interesting. I can't recall that happen.
You'll hear the word vilify, but you'll never hear someone referred to as a villain.
I know. I try very hard to avoid
outside
that.
of individuals.
Yeah, I try very hard when I write fiction to not call characters villains when they're villains.
Yeah, I mean, it's become kind of a trademark of superhero comics. I mean, we do it in, both DC and Marvel, and it's a thing we're kind of used to. The Marvel movies aren't doing it. I think that's probably for the best.
I agree.
Just because it's more of a real-world context. Oh, freak! Yeah, gave Mojo a little bit of pathos here. And some of it is made up, and Mojo always has that.
Of course. He's had things bad go wrong for him, but he's not a good person anyway.
I think it's kind of funny that for the audience's benefit, he's keeping up this act and looking at the camera while he's not looking at them. I guess they can hear him talking right now, but it's kind of funny because it seems like he's just addressing us, but then later on we'll find out that this is all an act.
Yeah.
Nothing in the... I know he either said this already or hasn't said it yet. No, he hasn't said it yet, but one of my favorite lines in this movie is, nothing in this gray matters. I'm a big fan of puns. Again, This is a thing that's not going to appeal to everyone, and this is where you can tell that he is that this is all an act.
Well, of course,
because he has the big smile in the shadow. And Manos, the fix the town and help the town and make it a better place machine, is one of my favorite names for anything. And I just could not help myself when I did my Dark Knight Rises superhero rewind and called the energy machine that Bruce Wayne is developing before that movie starts the help the town and make it a better place machine.
That was brilliant. Because it's basically the same thing.
I thought of that in the theater, and like no matter where I came down on that movie, I was gonna put that in. I wrote that 4 years ago. I was like, that's going in there somewhere.
Yes, this dark, serious film that you obviously don't get because it's so smart has basically something from the Powerpuff Girl film.
Something that's always really resonated with me with this movie, Manos, is manipulating kids by using the very common, very like PBS and Saturday morning cartoon platitude of you just gotta believe in yourself.
Yeah, it's an interesting twist.
And I love that because that is certainly a lesson that I think children should learn, but something has to happen before that. And they haven't had that yet. You have to learn a little responsibility and have some self-control and stuff before you can believe in yourself. You've got to, you gotta be taught some other things first, I think. And sometimes we just kind of leap to that place and kind of not to sit here and soapbox, but that's some of the best social commentary in the movie, I think.
This whole sequence is pretty cool, of watching them build. That's one of the things I would have never suspected, that it was the Powerpuff Girls who helped build his fortress.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I might have resisted, but then it's cool because how else would he have built that thing? Mm-hmm. But also, do we need logic?
Not really. It's this volcano in the middle of the city.
I mean, things like Lucky Captain Rabbit King, who just suddenly has this elaborate costume out of nowhere when he goes and knocks on the Powerpuff Girls' door. Like, we don't need logic, but it is kind of fun to have that. I love some of the flashing light choices in this.
Oh, I love that design.
Yeah, it's cool that you've got all the glass domes that resemble his glass dome head that he hasn't come up with yet.
Yep.
And he's got a paper bag on his head.
Oh, I just need that chemical X.
Now, I don't know if I'm right about this, but is there any reason he should know yet that he could get Chemical X from the Powerpuff Girls?
I would just think that he would just assume, since they came from the professor's laboratory, that they would be able to get it for him.
Yeah, but does he know that now? Have they told him that?
Not really.
I don't know that he even knows that. And that he even necessarily knows that he came from the professor's lab. Like him say he might, but like even if he at this juncture already knows his own origin, I don't know why he would know theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm forgetting something and he was like, lurking and I missed and I just don't remember it. But I've seen this movie a bunch of times and I don't really recall that. Something else I'm going to look for at the end of this movie, because again it's been a while since I've watched this, Manos, is. Mm-hmm. Do you remember, is there any kind of explanation for what happens to all the other monkeys that are affected by chemical X? Because it seems like if they just go away, they should have a lot of arch nemesis that are super intelligent, hyper, superpowered monkeys.
Weren't they, I seem to wonder if they were being controlled, partly. Oh.
Well, that's true.
Oh, no, that's because they all decide that they're the smart one.
Yeah. I mean, like they kind of. It's not exactly mind control, because like he just sort of gives them all, that super intelligence thing, and then they adopt his personality. I did always think that that went on maybe longer than it needed to, but it's also kind of fun because, on the other hand, because at the end of this, if you're really paying attention, you see every one of those monkeys again.
Yeah.
Like they've set all that up to pay it off. And so, like, whether you remember it or not, when you get to that last action scene, you've seen Pappy Wappy and Hata Wata and blah 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 and
that monkey with the big nose that looks like that old comedian.
Yeah, that old comedian. I don't know who you're talking about.
That's okay. Oh, wow. I love the design of the zoo.
There's a handheld video game that recreates the zoo almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's a boring game, but it looks cool.
I also like the fact that, their relationship with the town is not great. And, yeah, it's partly because of them, but they didn't know any better, and people aren't giving them a good reason. to
Well,
help them.
they're playing it as the mutant thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing kind of their spin on X-Men, and again, it's kind of ludicrous because they're kindergartners. And
Yeah.
that adds an extra layer, I think, of comedy where it's like none of these people are giving them the time of day or the benefit of the doubt. Like, they're 5-year-olds and they're actually 2-day-olds. And then at the end they just turn on a dime because they save the town and because they the town knows now that that they can rely on them and they can get something from them. I mean, I don't think that everyone is suddenly vindicated at the end. I think the Powerpuff Girls are, and I think all the townspeople are kind of your groupthink lemmings at the end,
Mm-hmm.
or all the way through, really.
Here we go. I love that shot of him flipping the last switch, by the way.
Yeah.
I always thought that was such a cool Mojo shot.
If you weren't around then or you didn't bother to go, because obviously only about 11 of us went and saw this in the theater, but
Yeah.
For folks that didn't, you might look at this and be like, this doesn't really look all that much more theatrical than the TV show. I don't know. I thought it looked pretty darn cool on a big screen.
No, there's a lot of zooming in and out and spreading all over the map as far as like the set design, and you compare it with an episode, especially episodes before this one.
Yeah. Well, and in fact, they incorporated, in my opinion, too much of the look of the movie after this.
Well, that's only natural because they have that material now. So
yeah. They've got the models and they've got some of the.
Why wouldn't they want to use it? I mean, they did that with Batman.
And stuff.
They did that with Batman as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the reason I'm complaining about it is just because a lot of those episodes also weren't very good, and so it was just this sense of change where it's like, the movie didn't perform and now our show's not that good, and so I'm just reminded of that whenever I watch an episode. But also, like, I don't know, some of that like really simple charm was kind of lost. Like, I think this added depth and stuff in the in the aesthetic of this is really warranted for this story in a way that it's not so much for a more simple episode where I kind of want it to look a little simpler.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to have that attitude of that red letter media thing where like I don't like it when things are different. It's not that. If it were that, I wouldn't like this movie. But I just think that this style is really worthy for this material. And once again, this pullback and his laughing like that goes on far too long, and it's supposed to. And even though that's meant as a big dramatic beat, it's also kind of hilarious.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't stop. And we're making fun of those scenes in action movies and superhero movies where it just doesn't stop.
And it's just such a gorgeous pull where it goes all the way to them sleeping soundly in their beds. And it's such a gorgeous shot. Some of the set design reminds me of some of the design on this. It reminds me of some of the better Pixar films.
Yeah.
Like Incredibles, actually.
So I'll tell you about this hilarious incongruity. At some point after this, Mojo Jojo decided in his infinite wisdom that he only needed one Mojo suit.
Of course it's him.
Because in the episode where Bubbles becomes Mojo Jojo, she steals his suit and he's got to walk around on a towel because he doesn't have any more. But we just saw a closet full of them.
I guess he didn't keep them.
Now, to be fair, we do see a lot of these monkeys, I guess, steal them because they're wearing them.
Yeah.
So I guess they all got stolen, and then he never bothered to replace them.
And also, let's not forget that episode was made before this movie. So.
No, I know that, but that's what I'm saying is that
yes.
is that it's just chronologically somewhere between now and then. But actually, maybe that's, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not quite a contradiction. He just didn't replace them.
Yeah.
Because they did have to. They must have been stolen. I didn't think of that until just now. I told you I was going to go way too far, Manos.
I believed you.
I'm not apologizing, by the way.
Uh, yep, kids, life sucks. People lie to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard lesson.
Yeah.
And again, it's surprising how poignant a lot of this stuff is. This is your basic don't take candy from strangers lesson.
It is, and that's kind of a classic. We've seen that in a few stories from time to time.
Sure, but this made it fresh again,
Where the
especially
kid,
because it's Mojo. Because they
yeah,
have such a almost like buddy relationship with him in the show, even though he's their arch nemesis.
yeah. Well, he's kind of like, there are times where he's kind of like grown a little tired of it, and I just want to go to the supermarket. Oh, hi, Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, yeah. Some of my favorite comedy, especially in parodies like this, is making fun of mundanity, which is part of why I'm such a big fan of the Tig. Like those day in the life kinds of things, we get a lot in that property, and this I think is following very much in that tradition. You can't tell me that these guys weren't big fans of the Tig.
Mm-hmm. Or at least influenced out of the same influences.
Yeah. I Rock So Hard is hilarious. This speech that does very much acknowledge what's come before production wise, but in I think a fantastically hilarious idea. There's King of the Planet of the Apes, and his I don't know his his like establishing that pattern of speech that he has where he reiterates everything over and over again is almost a conscious decision. And then, or at least in the moment where it's like a speechifying thing, and then it's almost like he loses perspective and he forgets that that's how he talks. Because in again in that Bubbles episode, he's like, "That's not how I talk." It's like, no, that's exactly how you talk. So I don't know how these guys built this stuff this fast.
Well, he wasn't looking.
Another of my favorite lines. Right here, he throws the baboon bot bombs, which honestly probably should be butt bombs.
Yeah.
And then Mojo says, "Oh, that's classy."
And then the barrel of monkey guys.
Or maybe that's when the spit thing. Yeah, I mean, like we're doing a pun on every monkey thing you've ever heard ever.
Yeah, here's the cymbal monkey.
Yeah, we've got the cymbal monkey. We've got here's the monkeys from Wizard of Oz.
Yep, I think they pretty much ran out of monkey jokes and materials.
Yeah, and I mean, like, they had already done quite a few in the show.
Jimmy Durante, that's the comedian I was thinking
about.
that
is who
and
that
they're totally
Jimmy
referencing
Durante.
when he's talking.
Yes.
That's exactly how Jimmy Durante used to talk and sing.
Yeah, and then...
Oh, and I love this one. Like, hey, hold on.
That's
he
Jeff
doesn't
Goldblum.
have quite the shtick down.
Yeah, he's basically Jeff Goldblum. If he was in a slapstick comedy. But no, you're right. After this movie, they could never really do monkey jokes again. Like, that was it.
Yep. Well, we ran out of monkey jokes.
My ramblings are the only ramblings to be obeyed.
Yep. We just pretty much went crazy with the movie.
I also think they maybe wrote one of his best speeches in this movie, and like that's one of your big money moments if you're a big Powerpuff fan. Is like if Mojo's going to be the big villain of the thing, and I don't know that you would have wanted a big budget Powerpuff movie and not had Mojo.
You would have to have Mojo. I mean, he was their Joker. He was their arch nemesis.
But like you're waiting for that moment, right?
Yeah. There are times where, you would have to have him in the show. And, oh, God, I love this. I love the fact that you can hear Bubbles cry long before you see them.
Yeah, like, it's hard not to actually feel bad for these characters.
Yeah.
This scene includes my probably second favorite Bubbles line of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I don't want to sleep on a rock. This is my bed, and that could be your bed.
God, the coloring on this film is so amazing.
Yeah, I don't mean to keep belaboring this point, but this movie does not get enough credit.
It does not. I saw this. I don't know if I told you. I saw this in theaters. because I was a big Powerpuff Girl fan at the time, and I was excited about the film, and I didn't get a chance to see it until like maybe a week after it came out, and it was me and this grandmother with her two granddaughters. That was it. The end. They sat up way far, and I sat in the back. Uh, and I enjoyed the film, but it's like, oh man, this sucks.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would like to see this with an audience.
like, I saw it opening night, so luckily I had a few more people in my theater, but even opening night, it wasn't half full.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the same exact way it was when I saw Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Well,
Uh,
and neither of those movies were advertised well
Neither
enough,
did.
although this one more so.
Oh no, no, no! I think Cartoon Network's at least. I think they did try with this one, unlike Warner Brothers, which
They
did
did.
not try.
I think they could have done more.
Yeah,
But you're absolutely right. And it's interesting to compare the histories of those because Batman was really big right then, obviously, because of the movies that show was based on. And if that had only, I mean, you and I did that commentary, so we've talked about this. But like, if only people knew about it, that probably would have performed.
yeah. Siskel and Ebert didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
They reviewed it like 2 years later.
They were really surprised. No, I wasn't that much later, but they were. But they were surprised they didn't hear about it.
Yeah, it was at least after Batman Forever.
Was it really?
Yeah, they reviewed it
Oh.
after Batman Forever.
Well, if you're right about that, that would have been that long. Actually, that would have been like 3 years. Wow.
Yeah.
But this, and tell me if you agree with this. I think that this movie not performing confirmed a suspicion I had right then, which was that Powerpuff Girls had become more popular as a fad and a fashion statement than it was as a TV show.
Which is unfortunate because it was a great TV show, and there was a lot of meat to that. It wasn't just something shallow.
I mean, sometimes it was, but you're but you're right.
And let's see, I sometimes wonder if this film was a hit, would we have seen other Cartoon Network films? Like, would we have gotten a theatrical Dexter film or Kids Next Door, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie, maybe this is not a fair comparison because, like, people just didn't see this. It wasn't a catastrophe. I think Cartoon Network was happy with this movie. I don't think they thought that it didn't perform because the movie was no good. I don't know. I've not really looked into the history of that, but I was going to compare it to like Mario Brothers from Nintendo, where it was like, well, we better not do that again. And like Cartoon Network. This isn't the
that
only.
film was terrible.
This isn't the only thing. Yeah, I mean, this thing holds together at the very least. But they tried one or two other things. They did a help me out, the Meatwad show.
Meatwad show.
What is the name of that?
Aqua Teen.
Thank you, Aqua Teen Thunder Force. That was a movie, and that was after this.
Yes, it was. Oh, that was an Adult Swim film.
Yeah, but like same company and like
Same company.
and like honestly, some of the same audience. I mean, I realized that was more for adults, but still, like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of the same people that liked this show liked that show.
Well, a lot of teenagers and adults liked this show at the time when it was out, and the kids who liked it grew up in the 2000s and were watching Aqua Teen. So, yeah, that wouldn't be a bad. One of my favorite things about that film, actually, the Aqua Teen film, was they made a big deal that they were going to show the film on their channel for free.
Oh,
And they showed it, but it was like a tiny Post-it note thumbnail in the corner of the regular programming,
that's awesome.
where you could barely see it, but it was the film
That's hilarious.
and the dog.
So yeah, talking dog that they don't know can talk yet. And
He
again,
doesn't
that's
talk in this.
that's a thing when at the end he finally does. He goes, "Thank you."
Oh yeah,
And again, it's kind of a fun moment of absurdity if you don't know this material. But if you do, you're waiting for him to talk the whole time.
yeah.
There's the phone booth. You gotta have that gag. Love how fast-paced and ramped up this is. We should also mention that Powerpuff Girls doesn't work at all without the techno.
It does not, no. God, I just love how she keeps trying to save the dog. Like, over and over again. It's like, oh, will you just not be in trouble?
It's so great that this is how they're having to pay for everything. That like this is basic actions and consequences. They're figuring out not just how to be superheroes, but how to be, obviously responsible, more grown-up children.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another of my favorite Bubbles lines. There's just too many monkeys. My wife and I say that all the time. There's too many monkeys.
I love that punch shot. Bam.
Darn Dirty Ape. I guess we have to just keep laying on the Planet of the Apes references.
Yeah, too bad this isn't Transformers the movie where they could have cursed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't need that with the Powerpuff Girls. I think it's great with Transformers. I don't need that here. I'm good.
Well, they only put in Transformers the movie so they could get a higher rating.
And the dog.
It's kind of shallow.
And that stupid dog. That's Buttercup's big moment.
Yeah, when she realizes, wait, we can punch them.
Yeah, I love that. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Because Buttercup gives Blossom that idea, but just that little like rambling, stuttering speech she has, where she's like, and then the dog, and then the baby, and then the dog. I am totally fine with having an origin for why the Powerpuff Girls beat up people.
Yeah.
Because I like that it doesn't come to them naturally. That they're like...
Well, their first instinct was to help, and, their first instinct is to, it's raining monkeys. Yeah, their first instinct is to help, and, it doesn't really occur to them to use violence.
And then, of course, we use that as an exaggerated, joke constantly later where they like to go way overboard and beat people up that don't even necessarily deserve it. But they always play it as, like they think it's sort of necessary or something, but, it's just not at all. And that's the world they live in.
Yeah.
But I do like that that's not naturally their first inclination. And so that's kind of a fun, fresh take on, violence shouldn't be your first recourse.
I never noticed the digitized screen. That was really cool detail.
And BM blowout. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, this was pretty ambitious for the big climactic action sequence, because every one of these monkeys has to get taken out.
Yeah.
They've done a fantastic job of not making these guys generic, and because they established them all and gave them all names, they're going to make sure we see what happens to every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
At least the ones that they gave names.
Yeah.
Because then you got that big slew at the end that's just like, I, and then they take them out pretty easily, but...
Yeah, each individual isn't that tough. Oh, this one's great.
And then, of course, Bubbles has to find the cuddly one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and then the I ones, they just take out the same way that they're introduced. In maybe the same order.
Oh, man, I have to go back and watch that.
That's great.
The order that they're introduced.
There's some fantastic setup and payoff in this.
Man, this is a fast-paced film. We're almost over.
Yeah, it's quick.
It's like 80 minutes, isn't it? This is like 80, 90 minutes. I don't even know if this is a full 90.
Hour 15. So, yeah, not a full 90.
It's at least as long as... Oh, that's so cool.
Well, and something you should be impressed with... Oh, hey, okay, I might be reading too far into this, and I probably just thought of this because of who I'm talking to, but was that not potentially an MST3K reference? When they fly
possibly.
Through all the doors?
It's hard to say. It is...
It reminds me of it, certainly, especially the way it's lit.
It made me think that, too, but, I am also... a huge Misty. I will think...
I'm also me, and so that's where my brain went.
Yeah, I mean, I instantly go right to Mystery Science Theater almost all the time when I see stuff. Oh,
But I don't know. It just sort of reminded me of that
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. And here we go. We talked about how they were doing every monkey joke they can, and let's see. Whoa, what monkey
Oh,
joke reference
yes.
thing haven't we done yet?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
King
Well,
Kong.
yeah, and thanks for mentioning that because oh yeah, right, King Kong.
We haven't
Well,
done that yet.
and even before that, Blossom, and it's cool that we haven't referenced it. Like we got some red hair, and we keep referencing Planet of the Apes, which makes us think they've run out. And but before this, when she says we've got one more monkey to get off our backs, I'm already impressed because when you did all the visual monkey jokes, I thought you were kind of out. I thought you were done. It's amazing that your lair is big enough that you can stand
Yep.
in that room.
Well, that
At
must have
all.
been that plan must have been on the table. So
Oh, I guess he doesn't stand in the room. I forgot he was that big.
yep.
Oh, and you know what? It's also kind of fun. I never thought of this, Manos. That Mojo is technically also their first giant monster.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that actually. That's good. Oh, and he uses the
That's one of the
mirrors.
best ideas in the whole thing. Is he puts on the town hall
Yeah,
top
and you know
for a
what?
hat.
That must have been one of those things where they just came to it and thought, "Oh my God, yes."
Oh yeah, that
Oh,
only happens by accident. In fact,
yeah.
I've listened to the commentary, and I want to say that they said that Craig McCracken or somebody said that. By the way, if you've never listened to it, this has a really good creator commentary.
Oh, I have not listened to the
I
commentary.
learned a lot. Yeah,
I really did. I would be interested to listen to their commentary
you
on this.
should. You should. You learn a lot about animation, the process of animation, and also they point out a lot of the cultural references that would have, excuse me, that would have otherwise gone over my head.
Yeah. You, um, I really enjoyed. You bought Transformers the movie recently, right?
Yes.
I really enjoy
Well, actually,
the.
somebody sent it to me, but yes,
Okay,
I
well,
have it.
yeah, I really enjoy the commentaries on that one because they did two. They did a creator commentary and then a fan commentary.
Oh, that's cool. Was
And I listened to them both, and they're both fascinating to listen to.
Well, we are going to do that one here pretty soon. I want to take another watch of it because I had never seen it before. And wow, that was an experience.
Yes.
That was one of
Eh,
those experiences where I went, I would be a different person today had I actually grown up with this.
Yep, and I'm that person.
And man, well, you're also a different person than me because A, different life experiences, and B, you're like 13 years older than me.
Well, okay, those two things too, if you want to get detailed. But but yeah, that I went to see that in theaters too, and that was a different experience than Batman: Mask of the Phantasm and Powerpuff Girls, because yeah, that film didn't do well either. But I guess I saw it on opening day on an afternoon, and it was crowded with kids. Oh, and at a I'll talk about this later, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it had a huge I it was filled with people really totally into it, and
Yeah,
they were all like
I can't wait to
maybe
the
five
commentary
years
on that.
younger than me because I was like 15. Bam. Oh, that's funny. I've never considered like, oh yeah, Mojo was their first
The
giant
first giant
monster.
monster, and he has to be a huge threat on his own. After they've taken out all the little monkeys, obviously, otherwise it doesn't really work, pan out for him to be their arch nemesis. And we've got to kind of wrap things up thematically, which I think there's Bubbles as an X-wing fighter.
Yep.
Um, we've got to wrap things up thematically, which I think is done maybe more heavy-handed than it needed to be, but to kind of wrap up the whole false mentor versus the real mentor thing. But also, you've got to make this even bigger than it was with just with all the extra monkeys, or else the way the townspeople respond after this doesn't quite work. Because again, they're going to fight more giant monsters than they're going to fight of anything. So you need
Mhm.
like the big thing that only the Powerpuff Girls or a Megazord could stop. And then you have the episode where the Powerpuff Girls basically have a Megazord.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's one of my favorite
Oh, you and
episodes.
I still have to do the commentary on that.
Yeah, the Blowfish episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh
let's make
man.
sure and do that sometime soon, Manos, before the month's out.
Yeah, we only got a few days. Oh, yeah, I'm
We'll do
free
it.
for the next few nights. So we can definitely do that.
Okay, we'll figure logistics out when we're finished with the commentary.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe we should finish this commentary first.
And then, of course, he's got to climb the building, and
Of course,
it's really
yeah.
appropriate because they're girls, and he's carrying them. Got to have that. And again, one of the reasons I think this movie works so well is because there's all these.
Why do I get a feeling that's a lot of the production staff?
Because that's a lot of the production staff.
There are some times where I see shots in animated shows and films
You could just kind of tell.
where like, yeah, that's the crew. Like I noticed that like in Batman animated series they would do that from time to time.
But yeah, one of the reasons this movie really works for me is because it's not just all the homages. There's weirdly stuff that really resonates with me.
Yeah. Well, that's because they have something. They have a story here that is meaningful, and the homages don't take over. It's not like an episode of Family Guy where it's just homages and references, and there's nothing else besides that. I mean, this show has what this show has its own point of view and its own character arc and its own story and its own vision. But, they also have, a lot of their influences that they wear on their sleeve promptly. And it's fun. And it's a good mix.
Yeah, and you're right. They like to deal with a lot of the same ideas and themes and stuff, which is just naturally going to happen when one creator is, in charge and doing a lot of the same things. I never like to overstate that too much. I like that the only thing Craig McCracken ever liked to say when somebody would ask him what is the Powerpuff Girls about, he goes, well, it's just like it's a superhero thing.
Yeah.
like that's all he ever said. He's like, oh well, you see, it's these three girls and they have superpowers. The end. Watch it for yourself. And I mean, I'm not saying it's the deepest thing in the world, but it's sometimes kind of about stuff.
Yep, the Powerpuff Girls were Fay Ray and the Airplanes.
Okay, so here's my biggest criticism in the whole movie, Manos. Somehow or rather, because he's that big, the bottle of Chemical X becomes as large as him. There's no reason there should be that much Chemical X.
Oh, are we sure that's Chemical X?
Oh, that's a really good point you're making. Oh, wow, I am as naive as the Powerpuff Girls and the Professor at the beginning of this movie.
It could be a grosser joke than you may think.
You're right, it could, especially with this show, because it would sometimes go there. Blossom, how do you know there's Antidote X? Does the Professor just, keep that also on a shelf? Right next to Chemical X?
I love how they're all positioned in a
You've
heart.
only been alive for, 2 or 3 days. I don't know how you know that. And yeah, the heart thing is pretty great. Sometimes I like how lazy, air quotes, animation is used in the show, in this movie, and kind of on purpose. And I say animation in air quotes because all those people in the background are not animated; they're just standing.
Yeah, they're just standing.
But also, you can get away with making them all unique if you do it that way, because they're all moving. Then sometimes you have to, copy heads and stuff.
Yeah, that's a typical trick, anyway. I mean, there's that party scene in Mask of the Phantasm when no one's moving.
But here they're letting you know about it on purpose because they're on the big screen. That's pretty darn funny. You're just like, yeah, those people are moving. I don't buy that really, really elderly woman could stand in that pose that long.
Or that one bald dude with that smile.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yep. Hi. And then there's the sort of Johnny Bravo looking guy on the far left, and the dude and his girlfriend.
Yeah. He never takes his hand off her arm.
Yeah.
And then we got to have the before your bedtime line.
Yep. And we're just about done.
Manos,
this is a quick movie, dude.
I know I've been kind of gushy with this movie, and
I've noticed a little bit.
It's a thing I like a lot, but man, I still don't know how this movie is this watchable. And now we're setting up the standard status quo for the show. Wait, why are the Green Gang thrown in with Mojo?
Yeah, I mean that's two different levels of criminal.
By a lot.
Well, let me throw this purse snatcher in with Bin Laden. It's always the very first time.
You know,
You know,
it's got to be really interesting taking a thing like this from usually an 11-minute thing all the way to 75.
oh, I know. Oh boy, this must have been a huge undertaking.
I'm glad it happened and we actually got it. I mean, I'm glad that just being selfish for a minute because I love the show so much. I'm glad that was the first thing they tried.
Hmm.
Because otherwise I would have never gotten this movie unless they because I don't know what they could have made that would have been more popular than that
No, I mean,
at the time of their
yeah,
original stuff.
yeah. Like I said, I only wish this was a bigger hit. Like, I mean, maybe we could have got a second film, or maybe we could have seen other films from their wheelhouse, like Dexter, or a or Samurai Jack film could have happened.
Well, and that's the thing that I think would have made the most sense. But I still don't see a Samurai Jack movie making any more money than this did.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, this film and a whole lot of
Oh, I
monkeys
didn't know
played
Rob
by
Paulson was
Frank
in
Welker.
this, and and
Yep.
and Rob Paulson did a couple of them.
Yep.
A whole lot of money. That's great.
When you need monkey sounds, you call Frank Welker.
When you need any animal at all, you call Frank Welker. I don't know what we'll do without Frank Welker.
Oh my God, I don't want to think about it. And
Yeah.
Lauren Frost, by the way, worked on this, and she is the mastermind between about the current more recent My Little Pony film, not TV series.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and she also was the creator of the Super Best Friends, the show that was in the DC Nation shorts with Batgirl, Supergirl, and Wonder Girl.
Oh, I didn't even know about that.
Oh yeah, and I'm always disappointed that didn't get picked up
Yeah.
because that would have been a great series.
So we were talking earlier about how this movie seems to have not had a great transfer, but had surprisingly some good special features. Just like with the series, there are some character commentaries, although they don't have any of the characters do in the entire film. They'll pick like a sequence,
Mm-hmm.
and
Probably because
then
the sequence they worked on, right?
well, no, I mean like character comment. Like they'll have an actor come in and do their
Okay.
character. So there's one for Mojo and all the Powerpuff Girls and the mayor, and I think the professor might have one.
Mm-hmm.
And in the show box set, there are entire episodes that have a commentary by one of the actors doing the voice and pretending to be that character, which is fantastic.
That's awesome.
It's kind of the best thing ever, and you can tell which of them is a really good improv comedian and which of them went off script.
Yeah,
Went
some are
from the
actors
script.
and some are improv performers. That's just how it is.
The guy that does Mojo will go in, and he's like the guy who voices Brack. Man, he'll just talk.
Yeah. Well, to do that kind of character, you have to have that kind of actor. There's just no way. You can just get a guy who just reads off script to do that character. And was there a soundtrack to this?
I don't know. Weirdly, I never looked for it.
Now I
think I would have.
had the CD that they released and connected to the show, and I forgot the name of it. The city of I can't remember if it was called the City of Townsville or I can't remember. But the song, the album that they came out with connected to the TV show was just awesome because it has oh man, it has Frank Black on it, and it has Shojin Knife. And the Show You Knife song is fantastic.
Yeah, is that the Heroes and Villains CD that you're talking about?
Here's
Or
I
was
think
it
it's
something else?
Yeah, I
Because
think
they
it's
released a couple things. They released one thing that was like remixes of songs that are, of tracks they used in the show. They
no,
kind
it
of went
wasn't.
on forever.
No, it wasn't remixes, and it was original music.
Okay, I'll have to look that up at some point. This did in fact have a soundtrack, but I've never listened to it, so I'll have to do that.
Let's see. I'm sure you probably maybe have heard of it. I'll look it up after we do the
Yeah.
commentary. Actually, I have it in my collection. It's like literally like 3 feet away from me. Oh, "Pray for the Girls." That was the Frank Black song. I guess. Oh yeah, it was used in the film.
Yeah, and like I don't know if you remember there was that Apples and Stereo song that was in that that was in that commercial where they had puppets and they had puppet Powerpuff Girls fight the big blowfish monster.
Oh God. Yeah. Oh my God.
That was
Forgot
pretty
about
great. I put that in one of my rewinds with Powerpuff Girls, and then there was and then do you remember Devo's Go Monkey Go?
that. Yes.
That was pretty great. Well, anyway, that's our commentary. Wow, that went fast.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was shorter than Men in Black 2.
Yeah, which I could have dealt with another 10 or 15 minutes of this over 10 or
Men
15
in
minutes of
Black
that
2,
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Men in Black 2 is short.
Yeah.
It's like I think
Well,
it's
that-
20 minutes long.
Well, that's true. It is ridiculously short, but then I also don't like it that much, so that's merciful.
So it's a trade-off.
Yeah. It's one of its problems, but then not the prevailing one. If I'm not that upset, then I'm not still watching it. Anyway, everybody, thanks as always for listening. We sure appreciate it, and we will try to bring at least a couple more Powerpuff Girl videos for you this month. And Manos, thanks for joining me, buddy.
No, it was awesome. I loved it. I enjoy doing commentaries with you, and especially Powerpuff Girls. This was great.
I feel like we haven't done one in a really long time.
We have not, and that was partly my fault because the Skype on my old computer was just terrible. So doing commentaries
yeah.
was. Remember? Yeah, that's
Well-
kind of why I kind of started avoided doing them with you. It's like, I want to do a commentary that doesn't sound awful.
Well, now we can do more of them.
That's right.
Well, folks, thanks again for listening. We sure appreciate it. I'm Captain Logan,
And I am the Real Manos.
and we'll see you again next time.